I trained to be an actor at the Drama Centre, London, 1977 to 1980. The principal, teacher, and at my time, the spearhead of the school, Christopher Fettis, has just died. As far as I could tell, starting training age 20, was that he was a remarkable person who had surrounded himself with several other remarkable persons. I was not overwhelmed by him or them, maybe because I had remarkable parents, had a few great teachers, and had been inordinately lucky in my 20s to that point to have spent very eventful teens in 2 or 3 cultures and mashed up against many obstacles and found peace and refuge in solitude, in artistry, a hodgepodge of Beethoven, Bruce Lee, Van Gogh, Nijinsky, and Elvis, touchstones to which my new school could relate, would relate, where no one else, as I was being reared, had expressed any interest at all. That covers the history. It is not just me that found Christopher and Yat Malmgren remarkable, or John Blatchley, or Doreen Cannon. I must add, while understanding in my head very little of what they said, I was fascinated by their visceral beings, the sounds they made and how they expressed themselves physically. I think I watched them like an animal, I, the animal, and barely heard the cruel things the other students said they said. I do remember on day one, Yat saying, "Where is this boy, this Dikran?" He was Swedish. I raised my paw and he finished, "Oh yes, you. Over my dead body, you got into this school. At the audition, he almost put his boots on the table," end quote. Day one. It didn't bother me then, and it doesn't bother me now. Why? I do not know. I suppose because, in a sense, it is attached to how I sense my own success, which I sense very strongly. That's another story. I spent almost 3 years there, bumbling along, then out, and I really did not look upon their like again. Now they are mostly gone. The making of the school is a hero myth of loyalty and genius. I can attest to the quality of the training, the self-discoveries when one should be discovering self in crucibles of the likes of Racine and Strindberg, Shakespeare. And again, I cannot say I understood these famous geniuses, but in engaging with their works as an actor, I could relate myself to them. And again, the grasp was visceral, maybe unconscious. This is how I understand understanding. These affects were available to all of us on offer while the state paid the fees. If we were up to it or liked the punishment, I guess I did and still do, but never overwhelmed. And this I am still exploring. But here's the thing. The gift they were to the young girls and boys who attended, and therefore to the world of make-believe and truth, is conscientiously being hidden. I make no claims of conspiracy. I believe all the people doing this are people of extreme goodwill. But as I watched the funeral on film and listened to the deep things being said about the deceased man, the almost unheard of elsewhere things being said about the deceased man, I thought of how valuable it all was. Especially at a time when the human race is demonstrating such mindlessness and barbarism. I'm not saying in any way that this film or the fabulous documentary on the school made in 1992 should be released generally, more generally, not kept in-house. I'm not saying that. There are very good reasons for this secrecy, but it is a shame. And it makes me wonder how many other great works or mechanisms of history are kept out of the way and why. It might even make me mourn. We, the people, are not, nor have we ever been, well served by the controllers of information. It is not possible, for me anyway, to separate the Drama Centre from being young, and then forever young. when I left and plunged right into work at speed, being seen in plays and asked then to do another, auditions being rare and formalities, I rushed with new-found capacities at it all, prepared, I think, to be woefully unprepared, but so hungry and fascinated it did not matter. As 1 year became 2, I knew this alacrity, if there had been nothing else, had been, if not born at Drama Centre, more innate to me as a 20-year-old. It was not throttled then, there. I think that is why I went there, why I sought to go there, for my age of discovery, because as a young fellow on the street, I could see the great societal defining closing in, and I wasn't ready or trained for it. And so this age of discovery became the rest of my life. The remarkable funeral ceremony for Christopher, the things said by his ex-students, all felt like revolution again, hidden though, like we dare not speak its name. Quote, I was 3 years working at the National with famous directors who was so boring compared to Christopher, end quote. It is understandable that emperors in new clothes are important to societies reliant on myths of supremacy. Only the English could really do Shakespeare. I think the theatre of that era, late 70s, early 80s, the theatres were prophetically preparing for the tech age, the age of awe at perfections, of iPhones and electrical cars, AI, which we have consistently craved since I was born, and now we fear because it will control us, when we have always craved that controlling. Quote, he had no time for the theatre of his day, end quote. Quote, we saw the Russians, the Swedes, the Rustavelli, and we were shamed, end quote. They, the DC, did not make us to fit. And did we know as children that what we were being told was beautiful was ugly, or vice versa? That the theatre of our civilized, materialist, regimented day, barreling towards the now of genocides and incapacities, of getting off an environmental freefall, was made to pacify, to reassure us we were wrong and Sir Peter so-and-so was right, and work required mostly obedience. Hidden, verboten. Imagine being in a film, winning awards for it, then saying, it wasn't very good, was it? I wasn't, not Sally's best work, and they just didn't get me. End quote. At 23, Judy Davis said. Could we say this? Should we? Would we? Because we don't. And something is forever hidden.